You have 113 new messages.
Oh my.
There's a new episode of Art 101 up. Check it out. Hey, this is Burgher again. Are you going to check that Art 101 out, or just checking? Guess who?
Art 101 with Mr. Burgher.
Well, hello again, friends. Welcome to another episode of Art 101 with me, Mr. Burgher. As always, I appreciate likes, shares, new subscribers, anything that you can offer me. I'll take it. I'm not too picky. Today we're on the road somewhere between North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, in the midst of a move. Any time that I'm in the midst of a move during a global pandemic, it makes me think about the great art that we have in our world that we really can't get out and see right now. And you may not know it, but May is Asian American Month. And because it's Asian American Month, I want to really highlight an Asian American that does a fantastic job as an artist and is very influential with her monuments and her structures and her artistic creativity, and that's Maya Lin.
Come on, sucker. Let's get it on.
Whether you know the name Maya Lin or not, you have likely seen or know of her work. Lin is a Chinese American that was born in Athens, Ohio. Her dad was a ceramicist and the dean of the fine arts at Ohio University. Her mother was a professor of literature, also at Ohio University. As a young student, she was very interested in math, and this would greatly impact her talent in architecture. But living in a predominantly white Midwestern community was not always easy for her growing up.
It's funny, as you live through something, you're not aware of it. It's only in hindsight that you realize what indeed your childhood was really like. Growing up, I thought I was white. Didn't occur to me that I wasn't white. Probably didn't occur to me I was Asian American until I was studying abroad in Denmark, actually. I'm actually a terrible anarchist, probably deep down under, but that also could be, my parents are both college professors, and again, you want to question authority, and you want to question standards and traditions and whatever. So I don't know, I just wasn't very interested. So yeah, odd man out, odd woman out.
Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
Even people that know nothing about Maya Lin's work recognize her most famous piece, which is the Vietnam War Memorial in Washington, D.C.
She first caught the eye of the world when she submitted a winning design for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. At this time, she was a 21-year-old senior at Yale University, studying both art and architecture. Essentially, the design consisted of 70 slabs of high-polished granite that would be engraved with all of the names of the soldiers that died in combat.
For me, what the Vietnam Memorial had to be was about honesty, about dealing up front with individual loss. Now, it turns out it was also a requirement by the veterans to list the 57,000 names. Now, you've got to ask again, this is probably the first time where the group of veterans have requested it. We're reaching a time it's almost a modern time that will acknowledge the individual in a war on a national level, rather than what has happened in previous wars throughout history. It was always a political statement by the winning leader about the victory. The foot soldier didn't count, except in World War I memorials, which I had studied and realized the effect they had, they were so moving, was because they focused on individual loss. But I think that is the definition of a modern approach to war, the acknowledgement of individual lives lost.
The memorial would be erected at the National Mall in Washington, D.C., between the Lincoln and Washington monuments, with an opening to the public on November the 11th, 1982. After her work on the Veterans Memorial, Lynn went on to earn a master's degree in architecture and later an honorary doctorate in fine arts from Yale University. Her designs include several pieces of sculpture, furniture, parks, monuments, and other architectural projects. Most of her projects would revolve around the idea of the landscape and use of environmental elements. This could also be seen in her Civil Rights Memorial in Montgomery, Alabama. The work was largely inspired by Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech that states, "We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream."
Oh, yes, that's right.
As an artist, Maya Lin produces installations, environments, and sites. Let's look at the difference in those three types of creations by Maya Lin.
Installation art often occupies an entire room or gallery space that the spectator has to walk through or around in order to engage fully with the artwork. An environment is very similar to an installation, although it would be outside and is generally more permanent. A site is a site-specific artwork that is created to exist in a certain place. Typically, the artist will take the location into account while planning and creating this work. A lot of times we just focus on the product that is there and don't really take into account the research, design, planning, construction that goes into the end result. Many times it takes a team of individuals, not just an artist or designer, to create these great works, but literally dozens to hundreds of people that are skilled in various areas to pull these things off.
Just because you're not in the band doesn't mean you're not in the band.
Lynn has worked extremely hard to get and maintain her standing in the art world. Although gifted with an academically strong left mind, she knows that the flex of that creative right hemisphere of the brain must also be utilized.
I mean, anybody could do it, right?
As an educator, I'm always thinking about what advice these artists would give to young people starting out. And here's Maya Lin's advice to the young people.
If you can afford the time to do graduate and undergraduate, I would broaden your mind in undergrad and then specialize. Because I think for both art and architecture, you have your whole life ahead of you. Don't think that at age 18 you want to just focus in on your own personal world. It's like open it up for a while. I think it's invaluable.
Man, I love that story.
Now, if any of you sons of bitches got anything else to say, now's the f***ing time!